You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in our good friend Jordan Jones, attorney and owner at Los Angeles Truck Accident Lawyers in Los Angeles, California. Jordan, by the way, beautiful website. You just put it up. It looks great.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Everybody check it out. And congrats on the launch, Jordan. Good to see you back.
Man, it's good to be back. And thank you. Thank you for having me. And thanks for the kind words.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, before we go into what you're doing now in LA with truck accident cases, we do want to say that you were our second podcast guest ever. My first podcast guest was my sister asking me questions. And our second one was Jordan Jones, the brave soul that he is. We didn't have video. This is like this is like radio without TV at the point, right? So like this is before we launched the YouTube channel. We did it all like vocally, like over whatever we were using at that time.
Right.
And, we had connected in mid-July 2017, and now it's like headed towards the end of the year, 2024. You were one of the first people we ever featured. You talked about boxing and your practice in Detroit at the time.
Yeah.
And here we are 200 episodes later. You've come in to see me at an event in Boston. You've been a good friend to Lawyer Stories. You're like a consultant. And we appreciate you, man. We're so happy to have you back. And, we're excited to talk about what you're doing. So thanks so much, man.
Oh, listen, man, the pleasure's all mine, and kudos to you for what you've done. I mean, like you said, it's come a very, very long way since episode 2. And I'm super proud of you and what you put together here, man. You and the team, You guys did a wonderful job.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. So, we're going to go into your story a little bit. I know we have discussed it before, but
Sure.
You've litigated over 100 trucking cases.
Yeah.
Since you began over like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And is it true that you're only one of 2 lawyers in California who's board certified in truck accident law?
Yeah, as far as I know, yeah. So there's I think there's 6 people licensed in California who are board certified, but like only 2 people are like actually like in California. Like I know there's like one guy who's like in like I think Oregon, but he's licensed here, but he's based in Oregon. So like in terms of people like actually based here, boots on the ground, just the 2 of us. Me and this one other lady who's a good friend. She's great too.
So that's like really rare. And like tell me, like I'm curious, like what does it take to be like a board certified in truck accident law?
Well, I'll tell you, man. You got to write this test, and this thing's hard as shit. This is a hard test, and I remember like halfway through the test, and it's like proctored and everything. Like you got to use that exam software, and they're like looking at you on your camera, making sure you're not doing crazy stuff and cheating. And I remember I was halfway through the test, and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's just like, yeah. So
for
basically,
sport, Jordan, you're doing it
right,
for sport.
right. So you say, what does it take? I don't know, maybe some degree of psychopathy or something. I don't even know. It's crazy. But basically, what you have to do is you have to like. There's this matrix, and it's based on like what you've actually done in terms of handling cases. And I forget what the point total is. I think it's maybe 200 points or something. But if you have like a 8-figure verdict, you get X points. If you have a 7-figure verdict, you get Y points. You've taken a truck driver deposition, a safety director, so defended a Dauber motion, so on and so forth. You build up those points, and like once you hit the point total, then you're eligible to take the test. And you also have to submit like a writing sample to kind of show that this person's for real. They've actually done the work. So you got to submit something in germane to trucking, and then you take the test, and you take that test, and you get certified.
So there's actually prerequisites to be able to take the test. Like you can't just be like, hey, I want to be like certified in truck accident by the trial advocacy like the
Oh
board.
yeah, this is not a pay to play. It's not,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's yeah, it's tough, man. It's very difficult. And another thing too, I just remembered, you have to get references from I think you need 6 references from other lawyers. You need 2 references from defense lawyers who you've had cases against. You need two
Wow.
references from judges. So and then you got to recertify every 5 years too. And the same thing, you got to hit those numbers on the matrix. If you don't, you get, because the impetus and the thought is you want to keep the people doing the work. You don't want to just get it one time so you can hang it in your office and be like, oh, look at me, I'm board certified.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to continue to do the work. It's tough, man. It is not pay to play, and
Yeah.
a lot of really good lawyers in there.
And you said that a couple times, pay to play, because that is a big thing out there in our industry, and that's okay. I
Oh,
mean,
what, in the legal industry? What do you mean?
yeah. Well, maybe we want to say, hey, look at us, look at us. But
Yeah.
that's super important. Like, so, like, what does that mean to you? Like, to be able to have that credential, and like,
Yeah.
what does it mean for your clients? Like, when you're just kicking it off here in Los Angeles, and like, here you come with this like huge credential that's very rare.
Yeah. So I'm very proud of that. I'm really, really proud of that because I had to work tremendously hard to get it, and it literally took me years because you have to build up all your points, like I was saying, to even be eligible. But it's I think there's last I checked, I want to say there's 78 people in the country who have that certification. And it means a lot to me. And I think I'm a little older than I look, but I look young, and I think it just reassures my clients. And the whole point of the MBTA is to help clients find, people who really do specialize in that particular area of law, and that's why it exists. It's a nonprofit for that purpose. So,
And just like, thinking like sort of off the cuff, like why do you think they have a test like that for specifically for trucking? Because your niche is trucking. I mean, it is like it's personal injury, but it's trucking. So, like,
right.
why do you think they have a credential like that so specific to trucking?
Yeah, so they have other areas too. Like
Okay.
it's not just trucking. Like you can get board certified in like civil litigation,
Sure.
based on trucking experience and things of that nature. The one specifically in trucking, I think, I think a lot of people say they do trucking,
Yep.
uh, but I think there's, not a whole lot of people who really do trucking and like really dive into it and understand, and they're leveraging the knowledge to get the best outcome for the client. So I think that's why they have it there. Because I mean, look, your client only gets one shot at this. Like they don't get
Yeah.
a do-over. If you miss some coverage or you miss a party that should have been in there, and you got some client who's badly injured, I mean, they're stuck with that. So
Wow.
that's why they have this thing, so you can make sure you're getting someone who's done, not only knows how to do the work, but who's actually done the work, and they can go out and get the best recovery for you. I mean, that's what I think. I don't
No,
work for
that's
an
so important.
NPTA or anything. That's just what
Yeah.
I think.
I no, that's so
But,
important. That's a lot of
yeah,
pressure, man. You got to really like,
yeah.
dot your dot your I's, cross your T's on that, huh?
Oh, sure.
That's a
Yeah,
lot of
sure.
work.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's go back a little bit, like a little rewind. Like, so tell us like when you decided to go to law school. Like, where you from? Where you practiced a little bit. You don't have to go into a
Yeah.
whole thing. I love to
Yeah.
hear like why people decided to go to law school.
Okay. So kind of the funny story, and I think I shared this on an Instagram post with lawyer stories,
Okay.
but kind of the funny. So I loved Entourage, and I wanted to be Ari Gold, and I was like, oh, this is like, and I think in the show he went to Michigan or something like that, and I was like,
Nice.
oh, like this, and I wanted to be like an agent, and I wanted to, like literally that's kind of what I aspired. I thought that was like the coolest thing, and at the time back then they were doing the film incentives in Michigan, and there was tons and tons of filming going on, like in Detroit and all around, and it was kind of like this budding, really great film industry. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I'll go to law school in Detroit and I get in on the ground floor and kind of
Yep.
come up. And like literally, I think I was, one semester in, and they canned the film incentives and everything dried up entirely.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's kind of the funny story I like to tell. And then very, very long story that I won't get into, but I actually fell into PI, and I specifically fell into trucking litigation. I've been doing it since day one, since I got my bar card, and I love it, man. I love it, and I love helping people and
Yeah.
doing good work.
Yeah. So like you spent a lot of time in Detroit practicing.
Yeah,
Go Lions.
go
So
Lions, Dan Campbell, baby.
let's go. Um, Tell us about your time there, like as a trucking attorney, and like some of the experience you got out there.
Yeah, so I love Detroit. Detroit was awesome, man. And I was so happy because like Detroiters are like super, super, super nice people. They're like the kindest, nicest, like just the best people in the world. And is obviously had a lot of challenges. And it was really cool because like when I'm not from Detroit originally, and when I got there in 2010 for law school versus when I moved out to California full time, it was like night and day. It was like two totally separate cities. So I was super happy to see the turnaround. But yeah, no, I just got a really good experience. Did a lot of work in Michigan. Handled many cases. And you said over 100. It's probably closer to probably close to 200.
Wow. Okay.
Trucking cases that I handled, and I lucked out. I got a great firm, great mentors, and that's what you need in this game to come up and be good.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So mentors, like how important were they? Like, do you want to talk about any of the mentors that you've had?
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, the biggest one, Steve Gersten. He owned the firm that I was working at in Michigan, and actually continued working at there for quite some time once I had moved out to California. And we still work together on stuff. And he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
awesome. He was like super early on the trucking game, like kind of before there was such a thing. I learned a lot from a guy called Michael Leeserman, who's from Ohio, very famous trucking lawyer. Joe Freed, very famous
Yeah.
trucking lawyer down in Atlanta. I mean, he handles cases kind of everywhere. Yeah, there's a lot, man, a lot. I could sit here and eat up my whole hour just naming
Yeah,
names
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Those are some of the big ones, yeah.
So, you're a successful trucking attorney in Michigan. Why
Sure.
are we in, why the move to California?
Yeah, I mean, we just really like the lifestyle out here. How my wife and I mean, what's not to love? I mean, California is beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. The weather's amazing, and where we live, there's really good folks too. So we like the area. We like being here. And it wasn't like I came out here for practice. I came out here because I really like the lifestyle, and I love the weather, and there's so much going on. There's a lot of action, and so many opportunities out here. So that's kind of what brought us out here. And like I said, I was doing work back in Michigan for quite a long time. Several
Yeah.
years there. It was just getting to be a lot, man. It's like you have like a 8 a.m. motion hearing in Michigan on Zoom, and it's like 5 a.m. And you're like, so you're
Yeah.
up at 5 a.m. and it just gets a little bit, it's getting a little bit tough. And I think it was time. I think it was
Yeah.
time.
Wow. So
Yeah.
where are you taking cases from right now?
Well, so where I'm taking cases right now is really, really want to focus on California. I have some
Okay.
cases going here now, and I want to build up that practice. I just launched the firm. You mentioned it. It's called Los Angeles Truck Accident Lawyers. I got great office space, right smack downtown. Very close to Dodger Stadium, Little Tokyo.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great spot. You got to come out and visit it, man.
Oh man, I didn't know you
Yeah.
had like an office down there.
Oh
That's
yeah,
sweet.
yeah, yeah,
Congrats. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah, right smack downtown. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I really, really want to focus on that and get it going. It's an exciting place to be, an exciting place to practice. And it's gonna be tough, but I'm ready for the challenge. My whole life has been tough, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's almost like
Yeah.
career like number two. It's like another chat. It's
Yeah,
obviously
kind of, yeah. Yeah,
it's like
maybe not career number two, maybe like chapter two or
it's
something
like
like
another chapter. I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
another chapter. Like where? So
Yeah.
where are all the truck accidents happen? Is there like a particular highway and like, is it just like?
Oh,
I mean, is it like everywhere? And like, I guess
yeah,
somebody who's not in the trucking industry, like,
sure.
you probably don't realize how many trucking accidents actually happen out there.
Well, it's crazy, and there's like the NHTSA put out their statistics for 2023 recently. I think it was like I think it was like over 5,000 fatalities or 5,000 serious injuries or something like that. It happens a lot, and it's very unfortunate. But Southern California is so busy. I mean, there's always crashes kind of everywhere. But I for some reason I see a lot of crashes in Kern County, which is kind of like Bakersfield area, if you know where that is. And I think it's because there's like so much agriculture and farming up there. And there's kind of like a lot of really kind of small fly-by-night operations that are just kind of cutting corners. And I kind of suspect that's why. But
Okay.
yeah, which is kind of weird. Like it's, because I swear there's like a disproportionate amount of like truck wrecks in Kern County for some reason.
Yep.
I don't know why, but
Wow.
yeah,
What are
yeah.
some of like the biggest reasons that you
Yeah.
find? Is it like truck drivers falling asleep at the wheel?
Yeah.
Is it like trucks being like defective? Like what's do you ever have any like product
Yeah.
liability in there? Like what's the
Yeah, so funny you say that. So sometimes there is some product liability. I don't do product liability. That's above, that's
look
over
at
my
me, man,
head.
calling that out, huh?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so if there's a product issue,
Yeah.
admittedly refer those out. That's not something I do.
Yep.
And you got to do what's best for the client, right? So,
Right.
the so this is kind of a surprising answer. I think the biggest issue is actually the companies.
Okay.
And a lot of times with like I don't like the truck drivers in my experience, like they're not bad folks at all. Like it's very, very rare that like I depose somebody, I was like, okay, that guy's a bad dude. I think probably 95% of the truck drivers I've deposed, they're good folks, they're good hardworking folks trying to make an honest living. And I think the problem is they just don't know any better because the companies like they just want to get them on the road as fast as they can, because there's a saying in the industry, if the wheels ain't turning, you ain't earning, right?
Okay.
They just try to get them on the road as fast as they can. They don't really
Right.
train.
Right.
They go out there and do crazy stuff, and so I think that's actually the biggest issue is just a lack of training, lack of knowledge, and truck driving. Writing the test doesn't really teach you anything. So
Yeah. That's true.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
So like take us through like there's like 18 wheelers like that like a
yeah,
smash into a car like
yeah,
it causes serious injury like what
yeah,
like how do you differentiate between some of these cases like if it's an 18 wheeler
yeah.
um or like a typical car accident like I mean what do you look at like for the differences in like a personal injury like is there
Yeah.
like different thresholds like I mean you took a whole exam that had to do with this so
Yeah. So you mean like what's the difference between like a truck accident versus like a car
yeah, I
accident?
guess just
Okay,
simply
yeah.
like paring it down.
Yeah.
Like what's
Yeah.
boiling it down?
Just
Like what's the difference between the two?
yeah, so if I could kind of give it to you in 3 points, the investigation is way different. It's way more involved.
Okay.
The evidence is a lot different, and the body of law is a lot different. I know that's kind of like a little bit oversimplified, but yeah, it's crazy. Like there's the federal law, like there's a whole body of federal law, and then there's like standard of care, through the like the commercial driver's manual that tells you how to drive a truck. It's just totally different than driving a car. Like there's you just have a different set of issues, different set of concerns when you're driving an 18 wheeler. So it's a lot different. It's a lot different.
Yeah. What did you take like a training lately, like in a truck or something? Like you drove a truck
Yeah,
or something?
yeah.
Like tell me about that.
Oh, dude, that was awesome, man. Yeah, so I went to truck driving school for 2 days in
Wow. Okay.
Montana, and it was awesome. It was actually my first time in Montana. It's very beautiful up there, by the way.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know why, but like the food was unbelievable. Like, dude, I've been to like great restaurants in like L.A., New York, Chicago, and for some reason, Billings, Montana, the food was just unbelievable. So
What
so
did you
yeah.
have? What did you have there? That was like
I couldn't even tell you, man. It was like this exotic stuff that they were like putting in front of me. I was like, oh, I don't know what this is, but it's delicious. It was so good. It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. But anyways, yeah, I went up there. I did 2 days of truck driving school, and it was really good, man. I'll tell you what, that is hard, man.
yeah.
And it like I always respected people who are doing it the right way and doing it the safe way. But I'll tell you what, like I did not it took that appreciation, that respect to a whole new level. Like I'll give you an example. Like I had to tie down a load, and I think it was 28,000 pounds of concrete,
Hmm.
and I had to tie it down. And first of all, it's like physically demanding because like these hooks are heavy, and you gotta like throw in these hooks, and you gotta like run to the other side and like strap this thing down. And you gotta like turn the crank and tighten it and everything like that. And I think it took me like probably like 40 minutes to get through it. And my driver trainer, he's like, now imagine you're doing that, except it's -5 degrees outside, you're getting snowed on. Then you got to go sit in your truck and you're all wet and there's nowhere to dry off. And I
Wow.
was like,
Yeah.
wow. I was like, I never really like thought of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy, man. It was crazy. It was a tremendous experience. I'm so happy I did it, and it really brought a new appreciation to what goes into this.
So was this like for your practice sort of or just because out of curiosity because like you're interested in the whole like
Yeah.
kind of field like what was the purpose?
Both. Yeah,
Yeah.
both. Yeah. Yeah. I was curious, and also I thought it would be something helpful, just to help me understand it better. And
Yeah.
yeah, like just sitting in the truck and actually driving it and steering it and feeling how it
Wow.
handles you just gives you a new appreciation that I think is going to ultimately help me do a better job on my
Yeah.
cases.
Did they give
So
you a driver's test or like did you get a certificate or anything?
no, no, they don't
All
give
right.
me a certificate or nothing like that. I could do it through the state, but I'm just
That would have
No.
been pretty sweet. Well, that's
Yeah.
I think that that's pretty good. I mean, that's like ambitious to go do something like that to really like
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
it from the other side and
No,
like
yeah, it was cool, man. Yeah, my wife was asking me if I'm gonna go take my CDL, and I told her, after I did the NBTA board certification, I think I was done with tests after that.
you don't want to take a couple more bar exams.
Oh no, 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 yeah, yeah. I had to take the California bar, and I moved out here too. That was another one where I was like, why am I doing this? Yeah, but
Yeah, that's wild. Did you
yeah.
study a lot for that?
Yes and no, because I was still practicing
Yeah.
and handling, major truck cases. So I kind of the short version is yes, but I did like a very strategic, like it was impossible to study everything. So I'm just like, okay, this is tested every single year, so I'm going to study this. I was like, this hasn't been tested in 2, 3 years, so I'm going to study that. And I drew like a straight flush, like it was perfect. It was like everything
Wow.
I studied was like on the test,
That's
so it worked
amazing. You
good.
drove straight.
Yeah, it was
Good for
lucky
you.
is what it was.
Good for you. But you still had
Yeah.
to do like the multiple choice and all that, right?
No, no,
No.
yeah, I didn't have to do the
Okay.
multi-state because I was like a 5 year attorney, so you don't you just have
Okay.
to do the essays and the practical. So and the practical was pretty easy too. I got lucky because it was like I think it was like you had to draft a closing argument based on some facts and some statutes, and that was like pretty. I've been doing that for a very long time. Doing closings just from having
Yeah.
tried cases. So yeah, that wasn't too bad actually. So yeah, pretty lucky.
Man, I went into like deep thought just now when you
Yeah.
said that. Like I haven't done something like that in so long. It just kind of sounds kind of, a little cool, like a mind, kind of like a mind bender,
Yeah.
like to be able to just write something like that, like get the facts, the statute,
Yeah.
draft something. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was
Um,
kind of cool. But it was not cool. I was doing it. Put it that way.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, I bet that.
Yeah.
So tell us like about some of your notable cases that you've had. Do you have any that like you just could recall that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, yeah.
Like like the
I
type
got
of cars or like what vehicles? Well, I just said cars.
yeah,
What caused the accident, that sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. I got so my most memorable case that I have is this awesome lady, and the reason I remember this case is because I really really liked this lady. She was one of the best people I ever met in my life. She had an awesome, and her husband was a great guy, and she had two great kids, and she was paralyzed from her chest down. In a really really bad accident, and kind of the Cliff Notes version is there, like the truck hit like a line of cars, and then so like my client was paralyzed, and there was like another person who had some bad injuries, another person, and there's a small trucking company that had $1 million in coverage.
Mm.
And the other lawyers were kind of like, and basically they called right away. They're like, "Hey, our goose is cooked. Like, here's $1 million. You guys figure out how you want to split it up and let us know. We'll, blah blah blah." And I wouldn't settle the case, and they were mad at me. And I was like, "Well, look," I was like, "How do you know there's like someone just called you and said, oh yeah, we only have $1 million." You say, "Oh, okay." You
Yeah,
still
yeah.
gotta investigate and like do your due diligence, whatever, right?
Are there attorneys out? Let me stop you the story.
Yeah,
Like, are there attorneys out there, like maybe a young attorney who hasn't
yeah.
really like, that not that much experience, who'd be like, oh shit, $1 million. Like, okay, like let's. I mean, do you think that there
Yeah.
are attorneys out there who would just do that?
I know there are. Like I don't
Okay.
think I know there are, and
Yeah.
also too like and like I get it, man. Like there's a lot of like yeah, you have economic pressures, and I mean, listen, it's like you can get a check and get an attorney fee. You got mouths to feed and kids to put through college. Like I get why you would do it, but
Yeah.
you gotta think about your clients, man. You know,
Right. So
it's
this
not
is
it's not
really
what you
interesting. So you
yeah
said you said opposing counsel's like, what are you doing? Like, our goose will
yeah
cook, like take the mill, and you're
yeah.
just like, no.
Yeah, so it wasn't even opposing counsel. It was the plaintiff's lawyers for the other people that got hurt, and
Okay.
and
Okay.
and and the opposing counsel, like they were like, look, we can't settle
Oh, so
because
it was actually the plaintiff's lawyers for
yeah,
other
yeah,
people.
it was the
Okay.
plaintiff's
Oh,
lawyers, yeah, and they were mad at me, and I was like, look, but long story short, I started digging into some discovery, and basically, what it turned out is they're actually the guy was actually under dispatch from like a bigger company,
okay.
and basically they had so much work, this bigger company, they didn't have enough trucks, so they started giving their trailers to like these, they were calling them subcontractors, and they were hauling around their trailers, but the big company was still calling the show. Like they were like telling, all right, you go
Yeah.
here on Tuesday, you go here on Wednesday. So they were actually the motor carrier, and they had 10 million in coverage. And
Okay.
I said, see, this is why you don't take the million.
Yeah.
So, and they ended up tendering, and obviously my client got the vast majority because she was badly injured. But yeah, I mean, so that kind of stood out in my mind. I was really proud of that one, man,
That's
because
amazing. I think that's a
yeah,
great story.
Yeah,
Actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, like I said, I really liked the client, so that was like the best part for me. But also just like I was under pressure, and like the other plaintiffs' lawyers were berating me. And kind of another this is another funny story I like to tell. The when I found the other trucking company, I amended the complaint, I sued them and brought them in, and they had some lawyer. And she called and she's like, what are you looking for? And I was like, I think this is an 8-figure case. And her head flew off. Like she lost her mind. And she's like, she's like, that's just crazy. She's like, I've never paid that kind of money on a case before. And I don't know, I'm a big reader, and I read Morgan Housel. He has this great quote. He has this quote. It says, things that have never happened before happen all the time. And I said that to her. I said that to her. I said,
No
well,
way.
I said, well, things that have never happened before happen all the time. And she's like, and she like, basically hung up on me. And then, fast forward, like whatever, probably like a year later, I got a check for $10.5 million. And the other two people split up the rest. And I actually sent her a basket, and I put like a little note, and the note was like, things that have never happened before happen all the time. And I
Oh
said,
man, I can't believe you did that. That's crazy.
yeah, well, I wasn't trying to be like a dick. It was like,
No,
it
no.
was kind of like, yeah. It was like, hey, it was a pleasure working with you. But I don't know, maybe I was kind of being a dick. I don't know.
Yeah. Wow, dude. I'm surprised at that one, Jordan. But
Well, you know what? It was the way she went about it. Is
yeah.
what yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was opposing counsel?
That was opposing counsel. Yeah.
Wow. So dude,
Yeah.
that's those are some really like heavyweight stories.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
go into bat for
That's
your
my
client.
proudest case, man. That's
Well,
my
I mean, like, I think that just shows like you're not going to just stop at like the first offer. Like, you're going to like really fight for your client. You have the
sure.
experience, obviously, that
Yeah.
you're going to keep digging. Like, you're going to look for that secondary, like insurance
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Yeah.
see that this was, the littler truck was contracted with the bigger truck. You're going to find that.
Right,
And
right.
so
Yeah, and that's the
that's huge.
thing. Like, you and I were talking about this off camera a little bit. Like the clients, like this is their only shot, man.
Right.
This lady, she's never working again. She has tremendous medical needs. Tremendous. She needed care basically 24 hours around the clock. And like, $1 million, or not, it wouldn't have even been a million, because it had to be split up,
Yeah.
with the other people. I mean, that would have been should have blown through that in a couple of years, man.
Yeah. And
So yeah.
I hope you gave those other attorneys, not as much since you went after the 10 mil. I hope the other
Yeah.
attorneys didn't get that much because they wanted to settle it like a million. So
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. Yeah. I don't remember exactly who got what, but I know there was 11, and my lady got a 10.5. So I don't remember how they split up the other, because there was like 1 million from the small company, and then the bigger
wow.
company had 10 million, and they stacked, so it was like 11 million total. Yeah.
Eh,
So, but yeah, that
awesome.
was I was proud of that one, man. I was proud of that one.
So are you what percentage of cases would you say settle like when you're working on these, and are you willing
Oh,
to go to court and
vast majority. Yeah,
yeah,
like probably 96, 97%.
okay.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
willing to still like go to court and all that sort of
Oh
stuff?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, my default is that I'm going to trial. Like I don't sign a case and file a lawsuit and then think like, one day I'm going to settle this. Like, you treat every single case like it's going to trial.
Yeah.
And statistically, I mean, you're likely not going to go to trial, but you got to be ready. You got to be ready, and you got to make the investment. I'll tell you what else too, Ben.
Yeah.
That's how you get a good result for your client. Like when you show the other side, like, hey, this person's working the case up, this person's ready for trial, this person's going to try the case. That's how you get a good result for your client. If you're just kind of going along, they'll be like, oh, this guy or this person's not going to try the case, whatever.
How
So
could they tell that? How can somebody tell when you're not? I mean, is it just the name, like they recognize you in the industry, or how can
yeah,
somebody tell that like you're just sort of like going because you're responding to things very like sort of perfunctory and like not
yeah,
really like have any?
yeah. I think there is an element of name recognition that goes into it, but honestly, like, you can just tell by the way the case is being worked up. Like for example, like if you don't have experts, it's just like, how are you going to try a complicated trucking case? You haven't retained any experts yet, or like, you can also tell one. I got a real good buddy, who's a defense lawyer. Unfortunately, I keep trying to recruit him to the light, but he hasn't seen the light yet. Just kidding, all the defense lawyers out there. But he told me, he's like, look, he's like, I can tell. He's like, based on like the first set of discovery, like who knows what they're doing, and he only does trucking. He only does commercial defense. And he's like, I can tell. He's like, I get the discovery. I can tell like okay, this person knows what they're doing, or this person does not know what they're doing. He said he knows right off the bat based on the
Wow.
discovery. Yes, yeah.
What in there, like the questions they're asking and that sort of thing, like the interrogatories?
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
stuff, what he told me specifically is like what they're asking for. Like there's
Okay.
like specific like trucking documents that, you wouldn't you kind of got to know the industry to know, hey, I need to ask for the bill of lading, or I need to ask for the master transportation agreement, or I need to ask if they have telematics, things like that, right?
Okay. So what is why wouldn't a plaintiff's attorney like ask for, or get the expert witnesses? Like, what's I mean, if they have a case that they could really work up and maybe bring to like seven
Yeah.
figures from like high six
Yeah.
figures or whatever, like what's the reason that somebody wouldn't want to do it? I mean,
Yeah,
is that ethical if they don't like work to the max of that, like and
yeah.
try to get the best recovery? Is that considered not ethical?
I don't know, and I also don't want to like bash other folks. Like, I mean, one thing, it's cheap. It's a lot cheaper for the clients,
Okay.
if you can settle without getting experts. Because expert on my cases, experts are by far my biggest expense. Like
Wow. Okay.
when I work up a case, like I get well into the six figures in costs.
Yeah.
And most of that's expert fees. But you also have to balance that with like you know what's like, maybe this isn't a good way to put it, but like almost like what's the return? Like yeah, it's going to cost you $20,000 or $40,000 for this expert, but if that ultimately means you're going to recover 2 million more than you otherwise would for your client,
Right.
I mean, that's obviously an expense you make, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people don't do it, Ben. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that get those costs get deducted from like the ultimate, like the
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Exactly. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So anything else about your cases? Like, what kind of cases are you taking now? Who's calling you?
Yeah.
Los Angeles truck accident lawyers.
Yeah, so right now, mostly other lawyers.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of been a lot of my career actually. Is you get a lot of direct referrals from other lawyers out of state, or even some that are in state. I got a buddy, a real good guy who I like a lot in Michigan. Very good guy. He's a good trial lawyer. But he called me and he's like, hey, I haven't done a whole lot of trucking. Like, would you want to work on this case with me? And yeah, I love, and because number one, I really like the guy. I think it'll be super fun. And number two, I think I can learn a lot from him, and I can learn a lot from other lawyers through co-counseling. You see different styles, you see different approaches. And like listen, I know a ton about trucking, but I think you can learn something from everybody,
Yeah.
just about practicing, just about being a better lawyer. That's my philosophy.
What's your advice to like a young lawyer to become a better lawyer? Like, say, like a young litigator who's out there 1 or 2 years out. What would you tell them?
Yeah. Um, that's a good question. Like if they want to be a trial lawyer.
Yeah, like yeah, any
Yeah.
trial lawyer, sure.
Yeah, so if you want to be a trial lawyer, try cases. That's like the biggest thing. Like there's nothing like getting in there and actually doing it, getting experience. But also just like going there's so many great like seminars now. It's crazy. Like seminars, there's like a
Yeah.
seminar like every single week now, and they're so good. And there's like a lot of good webinars. So just that stuff. Reading
Yep.
books. Like I buy trial guides from AAJ. I have like all the Nick Rowley books. I have my buddy Michael Cowan made a book, Big Rig Justice. I got his book. I just finished it. So just reading and doing the cases and going to the seminars. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I just want to shift for a second
Yeah.
and ask you a couple questions about social media now, if that's
Yeah.
okay.
Sure.
So like we became friends through social media, like
Yeah.
like which is kind of like our like everybody's not everybody, but we have a lot of professionals out there. In fact, I think it's the definition of community is like really interesting. Like when you go on social media and you see like the same folks in there, and like it just seems like there's millions of lawyers out there, but we see like the same maybe a couple thousands like all the time, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
um do you like, and you've seen the evolution of social media like for lawyers on like Instagram and wherever
Sure.
else.
Yeah.
So like, do you think it could more hurt or help a practice? I mean,
Um.
probably
So,
both, right? I mean,
yeah, I would imagine both. And I know I'm not really directly answering your question.
that's okay.
But I think who it really helps is like the clients and the consumers. That's who
Okay.
I think really benefits, because you can like you can go now and you can see like, hey, what's this person like as a person? Is this person going to be a good fit? Is this the right person who can handle my case? And you
Yeah.
can like actually learn about, because again, like the client only gets one shot at this, right?
Right.
And they've been through nothing like this before. So I think that's who like really, really benefits from lawyers on social media. But I think it can help your practice, it can help your practice. It can help the community. Like, I don't know. I started doing something recently, just like making like little short videos. I just make them on my phone and then I edit them and put them as just like about questions people ask me about trucking cases.
Yeah.
Um, because I think it'll benefit people. And also selfishly, I tend to get the same questions over and over and over again. And I'm just kind of like, man, I just answered this last week. So
Really?
I
What's
just
like
figured
the
it'd be
most
like,
what's like the most common question you're getting?
oh man,
Let's
okay.
make you answer it again. No.
Yeah, right. See, what I should have done is I should have sat on my phone and recorded this. I can repurpose it for my social
Well,
media.
actually, I'm going to talk to you about Lawyer Stories, our next step with things that we're going to be doing. You might not
Okay.
have
Yeah.
to record this yourself.
Oh, there we go. There we
All right.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. Always,
So
always,
yeah,
always working here, Jordan.
there you go. There you go.
Always
Yeah.
pushing to be better. But yeah, so you're getting like the same questions. What are a lot of? I mean, do you remember like one or two of, or one question or anything that somebody's asking you a lot that you kind of, you find yourself repeating?
Yeah, so like a really common one I've gotten a lot, like maybe in the last like 2, 3 months, is there must have been like a DRI seminar out there somewhere, but like sometimes what they do is they like the federal agency, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, they'll like modify the rules, and then what they'll do is they'll like suspend the rule and then make a temporary rule in its place, like while they're kind of like trying to modify it or whatever.
Okay.
But like the temporary rule is like literally almost identical. Like it'll be like 99.9% identical. So, but I think somebody like went out and was like, "Hey, like we can start arguing these rules are suspended and they're inapplicable." And I've gotten that question like, quite a few times in the last 3, 4 months. They're like, "Hey, how do you handle this?" And that's the answer. It's like, "Oh, well, yeah, sure, the rule's suspended, but if you look at 390.2 T,
Yeah.
that's the rule that's in effect and is literally the exact same thing. So technically, is the rule suspended? Yes. Practically, is the rule suspended? No. So
Wow. Okay.
so yeah, I've been getting that one a lot. And I don't know. There's like a lot of insurance, a lot of questions about the
Yeah.
MCS 90. Yeah,
Insurance is tough, man. Isn't insurance
yeah,
like so difficult to even like pick apart and read, or do they just
yeah.
become like kind of like the same boilerplate? Like
No,
no,
no, not at all.
no,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah, they're all kind of different, and
Yeah.
yeah, if I get like another question I get a lot is about like sometimes if like a different company owns the trailer, like the trailer's insurance will attach to the truck driver. If
Right.
it's written a certain way, so I get a lot of questions about that. And for stuff like that, I usually get a coverage opinion from somebody who actually like does deck actions and things of that nature. But I think the thing is just having the wherewithal to like look for it and be like, okay, this is an avenue, and then what I'll do is I'll get like a coverage opinion from somebody who specializes that, and they'll let me know like, yeah, I think this is going to attach, or no, it's not, and then I'll make a decision from there.
Wow, dude,
Yeah.
you're a busy man. I mean, this sounds like so much work. It's crazy.
Well, hey, listen, my work is here, read this policy and tell me if you think it's going to attach, and I get an email back and say yes or no.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, it's a
yeah,
lot. It's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah,
So you've dealt with people through your practice that are in like the most vulnerable stages. They're really, obviously upset, like they're
yeah.
going through a really difficult time. Like, what qualities and characteristics like does it take to handle these type of cases when you're dealing with people who are going through such a traumatic experience?
Patience. Yeah, be patience, understanding, being compassionate, and having empathy. Especially, I deal with a lot of people who have brain injuries, and brain injuries, like especially if you have like frontal lobe damage and stuff like that. They sometimes can be pretty tough, pretty tough
Yeah.
folks to deal with sometimes. And then also the other thing is like people, even if they don't have, even if they're not brain injured, they're whatever, they're paralyzed or their mom died or their kid died. They're going through the worst time in their life and they're angry and sometimes you become the focal point of that anger sometimes.
Right.
And so just patience and understanding, man, and just really like, if someone's having a bad day, just recognizing like, what they're going through, and yeah, they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
What, quite frankly, if it was me, I'd probably have a lot of bad days myself,
Oh,
right?
hell yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, yeah. When do you generally decide, like when you're working up a case or you see the case, when do you decide if something's going to end up going to trial? And I know it doesn't go that often. We've talked about it,
Yeah.
96% settle. We know
Yeah.
that. But when do you know, like from the outset, or is it the opposing counsel, or like what do you generally know?
Yeah. So, like I said, my default is I'm going to trial. Like if you
Right,
ask me
right,
when
right.
I decide, it's the day I sign the case. So, and I start working from there, and then I can be worked off my default, but my default is we're going, because that's the way you got to work up the case. But I think it's pretty clear. I think probably when you're getting close, when you're maybe like, you know 4 months, 3 months, 2 months out, I think that's when like, okay, this one might be going for real or whatever, right?
That's a
So
lot of work, like especially if
yeah.
it's going to settle like right before trial. You hear about those cases like
It happens
settling.
all the time. It
Oh,
happens
gosh.
all the time. I've settled cases, like trucking cases, in trial before. I was on day 4 of a trial and I settled. I settled after we picked the jury. Like, that happens all the
How does
time.
that? Do they just come up to you and say, "All right, we'll give you the 5 million or something"? Is that like how it
Yeah,
works?
yeah. Or they'll come up and they'll say like, hey, I can't get you X, but we can do Y. And then you go talk to your client about it. Because you got, again, just always be in the best interest of the client. And if you have,
Yep.
I don't know, if you have like some multi seven figure offer on the table, and you're, 100,000 or $200,000 apart, do you risk 4 million or 5 million for a couple 100,000?
Yeah. Right. That's right.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, so it's just just doing what's in the best interest. And what I always tell my folks too is like, my job is give you information. Like I give you the information, and I can tell you what I think and my recommendation, but it's your call, and I'm going to work hard for you either way, whatever you want to do, but it's your call to make, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, this is like sort of personal. You don't have to answer it. You know it. So you've always
That's a hell of a lead up.
well, yeah. I mean, look, I don't want to catch you off guard. I don't like to make
Yeah.
people If anything, we're casual and comfortable in conversation here at the Lawyer Stories podcast. So,
Yeah.
you've always helped your clients tremendously, like Detroit, now California.
Yeah.
Like you're a family man now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you're a family man. Has it changed your perspective on the work you're doing at all?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, yeah, it's just yeah, my little guy's he's almost 6 months now.
Amazing.
But yeah, just
Congrats.
thank you, man. Yeah, he's growing like a weed. He's
Awesome.
awesome. But yeah, it's just totally changes your perspective, and it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, I've represented a fair amount of folks
Ugh.
who, unfortunately lost a kid,
Oh,
and it's just like, like obviously you understand like that's a horrible thing, but it doesn't really hit you until you have your own kid. I think
yeah.
that's when it like really kind of like, wow, so yeah, I think it
Yeah.
definitely changed
Yeah.
changed the way I think about things. Yeah.
Um,
And I'll tell you what else too. Here, as an aside, just one thing I've been trying to do more of, and I know a lot of really really good trucking lawyers out there are doing, is like, it's part of the settlement. Like not only, like, the money is the money, but also trying to like get some like safety reforms and things of that nature.
oh yeah.
Trying to be like, hey, like, so I've been trying to do that too, because I don't want this to happen to my kid, right?
Yeah.
God
Yeah.
forbid. So that's changing that too. That's really got me thinking about that a lot more, and trying to work that into my cases now too.
That's awesome. That's great. Like public policy, right? Like they talk about policy like in the law.
Yeah, yeah, not even public, just company policies.
Company
Like, hey,
company policy.
like, look, if someone's got 5 accidents, probably shouldn't hire that person anymore.
Right, right.
Probably shouldn't have hired that person, right?
Yeah.
So you say like, hey, look, you make a policy like, you got more than 3 crashes, you can't drive. So
Yeah.
just stuff like
That's
that, right?
great. Yeah, policy. That's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, LA, like pretty competitive place. Like we see
Sure.
the LA lawyers like all over like Instagram, and they're awesome, man. I love it. I mean, I've
Yeah,
met some of them. They're great people,
yeah.
fun, good attorneys, care about their clients. Shout out to LA. How does Jordan go in there? And like I know you have the credential,
Yeah,
trucking lawyer, National Board of Trial Advocacy,
yeah,
board certified truck accident attorney. How
sure.
do you go? How are you going to differentiate yourself in the LA, Southern California market?
That's a tough question. It put me on the spot.
Well, I didn't mean to do that. I thought you
Yeah.
read this, man.
No, it is a super, super competitive market, but I don't know, man. I don't really look at things in terms of like competition. I
Yeah,
think
that's good.
high tides raise all ships.
Yep,
I
that's
think
good.
there's enough work for everybody.
Good. Okay.
And I try to help people, man. And if anybody wants help, I'm happy to help you out. I mean, but to answer your question more directly, I just think the way that I can differentiate myself is like I'm so specialized. Like this is
Yeah,
like literally 100% of my practice. Like
totally.
I know stuff like upside down, inside out, left, right, backwards.
It's amazing.
Like I could fire off the FMCSRs in my sleep. It's just like very, very specialized. And also too, just having like an understanding of the industry. Like, one thing I do is I read Freight Waves a lot, which is, it has nothing to do with the law, but it's just like an industry blog and you kind of like know what's going on. And you understand like,
Freight waves. What's that?
it's just like this blog. It's like a transportation blog, and
Okay.
they talk about not just trucking, but they talk about like like shipping containers and things of that nature. But I read that because it's good because like you got to understand too like the industry and like the way
Yeah.
things look in practice. Like it's whatever the book says what the book says, but what does this actually look like in practice? And can you speak that language? And can you get in the deposition and ask the guy like, hey, he was driving a low boy, like understanding what that means. Like you're not going to look in the regs and see what a low boy is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or even the industry, like I was telling you earlier, the saying like the wheels ain't turning, you ain't earning. Like
Yeah.
understanding like truck drivers get paid by the mile, and
Yeah.
companies need they and like understanding about like deadheading and like why
Yeah.
you schedule things a certain way because you don't want to deadhead. Like you're not going to look and
And
find
you're
that in
yeah,
any
and you're
law
keeping
book.
up on like industry practices too.
Exactly,
Sure. Yeah.
exactly. So
I don't
yeah.
know what a low boy is, but I'll tell you, I know what a tall boy is, like a tall pass through ribbon. No, that's great, man. And I love that you speak of abundance too, because a lot of people would, they would take it as a competitive approach, and I think they're kind of like looking to just be like, hey, well, this is what. But I think like, you exude like a lot of confidence, and like that you can just go out there and do it, and the clients you get, you're gonna handle, as well as you can, and because of
Sure.
all your experience. So I think it's good to kind of look at things like with abundance, there's enough for everybody. In fact, I mean,
Yeah, for
look at how
sure.
many truck accidents there are. I mean, it's great. It's
Well, yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, and I don't know, like so somebody told me I forget who it was, but I wish I could remember, but they said like, just try to give and like just give and help and be motivated for the right reasons and you'll be surprised like what comes your way in your life. And I tried to do that and I think that's been pretty true.
yeah,
It's my
yeah,
approach.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Actually,
God, it's bothering me that I can't remember who told me that now. It was maybe like 9 years ago, I think. But anyways, I'm sorry.
no, no. So this is kind of random going back to like
Yeah,
law school. I'm just curious because you're so into like trucking and this is like
yeah,
the thing. Like, what classes did you actually like? And like, I know you said you landed in like,
yeah,
personal injury, but like, what was like the
yeah.
type of class that you liked, or and like, did you think you were going to be somewhere? Or
So like like I said, I thought I was gonna do entertainment, and then that went
okay,
up
you
in
did say
smoke.
that. Yep.
And then so
Ari
ended
Gold, got it.
yeah.
You've
So
got gold.
but yeah, and like I didn't even like get to that. Like I was like literally like semester one in like the compulsory courses. So but I
Dude,
took
you're
a
in
lot of
LA now, man.
I know. See, I should have stuck with it. No, just kidding. But no, I took a lot of business classes. I took a ton
Okay,
of business,
that's right.
because I thought I was going to do business, and I really fell into PI and I fell into trucking. It's kind of another really funny story I like to tell is when I first got hired at my firm, I worked at Steve Gerson's firm in Michigan. And he's like the COO interviewed me, hired me, whatever, and so I hadn't actually met Steve like when I started on there as a law clerk, and Steve's like, hey, he's like, walk by my desk, he's like, hey, grab a coffee, come sit in my office, let's talk, introduce each other. So in there, and he's talking to me, he's like, hey, he's like, what classes do you like in law school? And I said, Steve, I really like business. I like business classes. And
Yeah.
he goes, we're a personal injury law firm, right? And it's kind of a funny story. He told me years later he didn't think I was going to last, but we had a really,
Really?
really fun
Yeah.
together. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, I took a lot of business classes, man. I fell into this, but I'm happy I did.
But
So
you're also an entrepreneur. I mean,
sure,
so
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah,
helped, and it's probably like
yeah, that's
scratch
true.
that that itch a little bit, right? Like
That's
being
true.
an
That's
entrepreneur
true.
and opening a firm, man. That's business.
Yeah.
It's an entrepreneur, right? So
Yeah.
you probably have you get to use a lot of that too towards that.
Yeah.
And hey, you're
Yeah.
you're a top advisor of Lawyer Stories, so there you go too. So where do we see the firm in 5 to 10 years? Los Angeles Truck Accident Lawyers.
Yeah, so I'd really, really like to. I want to stay lean, man. I want to stay lean and
Yep.
have like a. I would like to grow the team a little bit,
Yep.
but just lean. Doing a really, really high level work on really, really high level cases, and yeah, that's like very boutique, very specialized, and that's where I'd like to see it. That's where I'd like to see it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
So do you think your entrepreneurial spirit helped you launch the firm? Like,
I think so.
yeah, because you're a business guy and you're just like, it's gonna be
Yeah,
fun. You're like, that sort of thing. And like, well,
yeah.
also you want to help people. I mean, you took the bar exam in California, so
Sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. It's just I felt like it was time. I felt like it was a good
yeah,
time.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
great. So, Jordan, is there anything we left out today?
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. Just the only thing I'd like to say to you is I'm super proud of you, man, and how
Oh,
far you've
thank you.
taken this thing and how you've
Thank you.
blown it up. Like, I mean, you didn't. I don't think you brought this up today, but we like you first got this thing going. Like we connected way back when,
Oh,
man,
way back when.
and
You were,
yeah,
you were like
just
one of the
bro.
first 5 or 10 people ever featured on Lawyer Stories. Yeah.
Yeah. When it was just the Instagram page and to kind of see what it's grown into and the community you're building and you're putting together these webinars now and that are super helpful. And yeah, I just super proud of you, man. And thank you for all the work you do
Thanks,
for our
man.
legal community too, by the way.
No, I appreciate you a lot, man.
Yeah.
Really been a great
Yeah.
help and a great friend, and like, I'm excited too. I get pumped, man. I work on this thing morning, noon, and night. So
Yeah.
whenever I get a
That's
free
what you
minute,
got to be to grow it, man.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
about the journey too. Like, I know that's
Yeah.
weird. It may sound cliche, like Gary Vee says, but dude, it's all
Yeah.
about the journey. But anyway,
Sure. Yeah.
hey, man, is there anything I just want to make sure I didn't leave anything out? Anything else you wanted to say, or that we?
No. I mean,
All right.
just yeah. If anybody wanted to check
Yep.
out the new website, it's trucklawyers.com. Don't ask me how I got that domain, but I somehow literally got trucklawyers.com, which is amazing.
That is
Yeah,
amazing.
if you want to check it out, or if you have any questions, I love talking trucking. I love helping people. My email is jjones@trucklawyers.com. And yeah, just hit me up. I love talking. Hit me up on Instagram at jjones.esq, and we'll talk.
Right on, man. Jordan Jones, always a pleasure. Stay right there. Everybody else, wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.